Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sweatpants BI. It's me, Sean. I want to wish everyone a happy International Women's Day, even though I'm pretty sure that I'm recording this in January of 2024. But nevertheless, this is my video that's going to be posted for International Women's Day. And in this video, I want to talk about 10 frustrating things that I've experienced about working in business intelligence. Obviously, I've paid quite a bit of attention in 2024 so far, and in some of my Udemy classes, talking about all the great things about business intelligence careers, how you can help, get a leg up on the competition and finding yourself a business intelligence job, how to make the most of BI work, how to become a business intelligence expert, and yet I started thinking that maybe I'm, giving you the false impression that working in business intelligence is, all sunshine and roses, all unicorns, rainbows, and, other very colorful expressions, when in actuality, I thought that I'd kind of, pivot on my usual spiel about BI and be very honest with you that, not everything about working in business intelligence is always a super fun time. So I spent some time thinking of, 10 pretty common for areas of frustration that I've experienced in my business intelligence career, and I wanted to share those out with you. So let's jump into our first one, and that is a truth that I'm sure most of you already know, whether or not it's early days in your BI career search, or if you're already very well established in your business intelligence career, and that is that landing that first role is tough. If only I had a nickel for every single person who reaches out to me on LinkedIn asking, hey, Sean, can you help me with my resume? Can you review it? I've sent this out for a lot of jobs and I'm not getting any kind of feedback yet. Or, I've made it through multiple stages of interviews and and I wrote cover letters and I feel like my resume is great, but I just can't seem to find that first role. I remember those days. When I first graduated from my MBA program in 2014, I had a lot of trouble finding my first job. As a matter of fact, in order to land my first business intelligence role, I actually started working in a sales call center. So I spent most of my day in, day out, absolutely miserable, making some days about 200 phone calls a day and talking to 40 or 50 different people, asking them if they were interested in my old company's products. Just kind of learning the ropes of the company. I wanted to work for this particular employee. I knew that they had employer. I knew that they had an analytics and a BI team. I was interested in possibly moving into something along those lines, but I knew that I needed to start somewhere and get established. So I started in sales in a call center, and it was absolutely the worst year of my life. I think I was in that role for about a year, about 7 to 8 months of absolute utter misery. Then things got a little bit better. But in that role, I was able to sort of network and meet people on the AI, on the analytics and BI team, and eventually get my foot through the door. But for those of you that are considering a business intelligence career and who are just starting to put some feelers out there, I just want to, be upfront. It is tough. The market is tough right now, and it will probably still be absolutely brutal when you when you are watching this video. Obviously, there's tons of competition because BI jobs still pay pretty well. They're fun. You have a whole lot of learning that you can do. They're challenging. You get to work with all kinds of very interesting businesses and parts of businesses. It's all about business intelligence. We could spend a lot of time focusing on the data, but at the end of the day, a business intelligence role is kind of like getting an MBA. Depending on where you're doing BI in a company, you might be learning more than you ever thought possible about finance or sales or marketing or customer service or human resources. I have worked in all of these fields in business intelligence, and it's been one of the most profitable and rewarding things about working in BI, but getting that first role is insanely tough. The next thing that I want to talk about is while you need 5 years of experience to become a senior or a lead BI professional, unfortunately, you don't need any experience to become a vice president of BI. So what do I mean by that? That sounds like a really unintuitive thing to say, but it has been frustrating in my career, knowing that you have to have a couple of years of experience in business intelligence and data visualization specifically. You've got to know SQL, you've got to know Power BI to land that first BI role. And then you have to have, 5 to 8 years of experience in order to sort of climb the ladder from a junior or an entry-level BI professional to a senior and then to like a lead. Different companies have different titles for these different roles, but I can't even tell you about the number of times that my leader or that the person overseeing business intelligence and BI strategy has no experience in BI. So if I'm lucky, they came from at least some sort of adjacent data role. Sometimes they come from a completely out of left field area in the business, and I guess someone thinks, oh, this person really knows the business and they're intelligent. Oh my God, they'd make a brilliant choice to lead a business intelligence team. But in the meantime, they don't know anything about BI tools. They don't know anything about SQL. They don't know anything about the realities of generating BI tools and working with the business to understand how BI tools can drive decision making. And more often than not, that ultimately results in kind of a rocky experience for the entire business intelligence efforts in the enterprise. So if you're somebody that works in a dedicated BI space being led by someone who has years and years of real business intelligence experience, count yourself lucky, because you should know going in that's not always the case. Oftentimes, as a BI professional, even if you have only a few years of experience, you might be spending a fairly large amount of your time sort of training and educating the leaders above you on what the capabilities of business intelligence are. So this is just to say that if you want to overcome this frustration, get used to learning more about BI and strategy yourself so that you can actually advocate for yourself and your capabilities and what you can do for a company. Next, I want you to know that it can be extremely difficult to know if you are truly making an impact. One of the things that I struggle with in my business intelligence career is that the impact of building BI tools, BI reports, dashboards, and deploying those, even if they're used by hundreds of people, it's just very, very challenging to actually know if the tool that you built is driving profit or has a good return on investment for the company. Sometimes you'll release tools, they'll be used by hundreds of people, but unless you ask or unless you pursue what those people are doing with your tools, you will not know, what sorts of decisions they're making, how they made those decisions from your tool, how they're utilizing your tools. Are there any parts of your tool that they're not using correctly? You have to often go and fish for that stuff because it won't necessarily be obvious to you. Yes, there are like metrics and usage analytics that you can run on your reports to tell how many people are using your reports and what level of people are using your reports. And yeah, you're going to have people slap you on the back and say, Sean, that was an amazing Power BI report that you built. But whether or not it's actually driving value, and especially if you're like me and you work in the healthcare industry and you want to know that the tools you're building and the decisions that your tools are driving are helping to improve the lives of people, those can be kind of abstract. Like in the back of my mind, I'm always very hopeful that the BI tools that I build are making a difference and really helping people. I'm not going to delude myself into saying that my BI tools are saving lives, but I definitely hope that my tools are making a difference. Otherwise, why am I here? So I just want you to know that you might be very, very proud of the tools that you're building, and you might feel like you're making an impact. But it can be really difficult to know, whether or not you really are doing the things that you kind of tell yourself when you're going to sleep that you're accomplishing. The next one is, so there's still a ton of confusion about what business intelligence even is. And even in 2024, this is something that I have to wrestle with all the time, and that is convincing people who don't live in and think about BI that business intelligence is more than just dashboards. Honestly, dashboards kind of give us a bad rap. And if you're watching this video and you're just like, isn't business intelligence just dashboards? Then let me illuminate that a little bit more. Dashboards are handy when you just need to, go and glance at some key metrics or some very common visuals and just make sure that they're on target, or maybe, say, okay, this one's red, this one's green, this one's yellow, maybe we should look into that. Things like that. That's a dashboard. They're kind of boring. Good dashboards might update every single day. Terrible dashboards just kind of sit there and people look at them a couple of times and then they die a slow death. Business intelligence is about unpacking the context behind those metrics and understanding, why are things moving the way that they're moving? Is that really good? Is that really bad? Are numbers moving different this year than they were last year? And sort of working with the business to unpack things that we're seeing in the intelligence to understand, what is really happening behind the scenes. And that means, having honest and frank conversations with your leadership. If they're still thinking in that dashboard mentality and they're telling you, Sean, go out and build that dashboard or give me a report on this, ask more probing questions, and please try to get yourself meetings with, or calls with the actual people that are working in that data and working in that part of the business day by day, so that you can work alongside the business and the data and sort of marry those together in order to really unpack what you're seeing and provide that extremely useful context, instead of just putting a bar chart on a page or putting a number on a page and calling it a day. That's not business intelligence. That's just building charts. The next thing that I have found very, very frustrating in BI kind of relates to what I just said a couple of moments ago about how difficult it is to know if you're making an impact, and that is that business intelligence projects have an extremely high failure rate. In the past year, I've had a lot of experience with this, even though I'm very, very proud of several of the tools that I've built, and I've had some wins and I've had some losses. You should be prepared for, I think some periodicals, some experts have the number as high as 80%, but let's just be more conservative and say half. You need to be prepared for half of your BI projects to basically result in no impact or fail. And by failure, I mean your BI projects may just stop in the middle of your development. I have projects all the time where the initial task starts with, Sean, we would like you and your team to build a BI report that goes into this specific aspect of the company. And then we find out that we don't have the right data for it. The data is not clean enough for us to use. Or we have the data and we spend weeks trying to understand it, and then additional weeks building a first version of a Power BI report. Then we start shopping it around different stakeholders to make sure that it's answering the question. And then right as we're working on the next version of it, and we feel like, man, we're like maybe a month away from releasing this thing, a leader leaves, priorities change. Your company's revenue or its bottom line starts to go in a wildly different direction. And suddenly, other priorities are bubbling up. The company's changing pace. Everybody's got to pivot. And suddenly your BI report's not that important. And your leader tells you, hey, Sean, why don't we just put that on ice for a second? We really need you focusing on this now. There just went 3 or 4 months of your work, and now you're on a new project. Unfortunately, this has happened more times than I can count. This is just kind of, I would say, if not just a norm of business intelligence, it's kind of a norm of working in a fast-paced corporate environment. And this is why you'll hear a lot of conversations about people trying to get insights and data faster, because I'm living proof and my projects are living proof that if it takes too long to get those insights and get those data, the company's already moved on. Companies have to move at a mile a minute. And if the BI and your data and your analytics work can't keep up with it, it's already too late a lot of the times by the time you get to the answer. Next, I want to talk about the fact that BI roles and career paths are all over the place. And I think I kind of alluded to this earlier. As you climb your corporate ladder, some people might start you as a junior business intelligence engineer. Some companies might start you as a BI developer, a BI analyst, a BI engineer 1 or 2. And then the next step up might be a numerical climbing. You might become a senior business intelligence thing. You might become a principal business intelligence thing, or you might become a, senior junior BI thing. You might become a director. You might become a president. A lot of these titles are all over the place. When I was hired with my current employer, I initially started out as a senior data visualization engineer or professional. It's been a long time. And then I became a senior business intelligence engineer literally on day one of my job. My title changed as I was joining the company. Stuff like this happens in business intelligence. You will see, BI roles referred to as data and reporting specialists, reporting professionals. And all of these titles, in my opinion, tend to be kind of meaningless and not tell you all that much about what the actual job is. It's much more helpful to just read the job descriptions. But because of that, it can make it really hard for someone to sort of estimate what a given role pays, because a senior BI thing at one company may be completely different from a senior BI thing at another company. Some companies may require 3 to 5 years of experience for a senior BI role. Others may require a decade. That's why sometimes when I am posting BI roles, I will have people requesting $60,000 US for a salary, and I'll have people requesting well into the 200,000s for a salary. It runs the gamut, both geographically and because I get people with 3 years of experience and 20 years of experience working with data, working in business intelligence. So just know roles and career paths are all over the place. Keep an open mind, do your research, read those job descriptions, and at the end of the day, all we can do is our best. I guarantee that this is not something that's going to go away as more data resources become available and as things like Power BI and Microsoft Fabric and AI sort of change the landscape of data and our roles. These roles are probably just going to become more nebulous over time and take on different dimensions. You need to just accept that this is a career that evolves. Do your best to, sort of stay on top of the lingo that's being used for different titles, and just keep your resume up to date and keep shopping it around. The next thing I want to talk about is that imposter syndrome is real. Folks, I've been doing business intelligence now for almost 10 years. I still feel imposter syndrome on a regular basis because I didn't really come from a data background, not in my university education and not from even my first jobs. I came from more of an education teaching background, which is why I enjoy doing these videos and doing my Udemy courses. But just letting you know that, for some people, that imposter syndrome just never goes away. The way that I've explained it to my wife is if you took my career, which is about 10 years of working with data and doing BI and data viz stuff, that would be the equivalent of me having a PhD if those years of work experience were academic years of experience. And yet I still feel like an imposter. I still sometimes, don't feel like I don't know enough about different areas. I feel like I'm not as good as some other BI people that I see out there. We're talking like big names like you see on LinkedIn that are really, really active and make really amazing tools. Or I feel like, that my SQL isn't good enough or my Python isn't good enough. Just know there are always people out there that are better than you at any of the different things that can make a BI professional exceptional. There's always someone that's better. There's always a lot of people that are probably worse than you. At the end of the day, you have to do the best that you can do with the tools that you have. And you just have to challenge yourself to keep learning. Some people are just, super natural at, one thing, and maybe you excel at other things. I'm not going to ever profess to be the best coder. I do my best. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly growing, but there's no question that aesthetics and design and user experience, those are more in my wheelhouse. For BI, I own that, and that's what I've tried to sort of double down on in my Power BI work. As far as my Python, until about 2 years ago when I actually started using it on a pretty regular basis, my Python was absolutely deplorable. Now it's probably just bad, I would say, but I'm always learning. I'm always growing when that's useful. So just know that, you can be doing, you can find your career and be doing it for 10 years and still feel like an imposter on a good day. Happens to me all the time. It's totally natural. The next thing you need to know is that the hours can be long. And this is because, like I said a moment ago, learning never stops. The hours can be long in this industry because not only are the demands of a business intelligence job often demanding, for lack of a better word, in your day-to-day, when you're, trying to understand data and you're writing, long scripts of code, or you're trying to troubleshoot a bug or figure out why your Power BI report is suddenly broken or a connection has been lost. Those can make for long days of understanding data and troubleshooting and trying to just improve your skills. But then there's also the time that you have to make available for learning and keeping your skills fresh and up to date and learning new things that you're curious about or understanding some new tool or feature that was released. And most of your employers will tell you, you know what, learning is so important at this company. We want you to spend 4 hours a week. Just take a Friday afternoon and focus just on your learning and keeping those skills fresh. And then meanwhile, you look at your calendar and you've got 3 hours of meetings on your Friday afternoon. And oh, by the way, those meetings are a priority. You need to go to those meetings. Don't miss those meetings. So then where do you make up that time for your learning and professional development? Well, unfortunately, you have to do it after hours or on the weekends, which is what I usually do. So the reason that I deal with burnout a whole lot, and the reason that I didn't release almost any videos in October, November, and December of last year is I hit my limit. I was completely burned out. I needed to refresh. I needed to put my weekend BI work to the side because I have weeks that go by where I'm basically working every single day. If not on my day job, then on my personal learning, on Sweatpants BI, Udemy. It never stops. I needed a break and I took one. You will need breaks. Make sure you take your vacations. Make sure you find time for yourself, but understand in a BI career, committing yourself to that constant growth and evolution and learning on top of your day job can make for some pretty long work weeks. Next, it's easy to feel the need to compare yourself to others. And, maybe this is also kind of a continuation of the thought that I had on imposter syndrome. One thing that I struggle with consistently in my career, and that knowing my nature, I would probably struggle with in any career, is the constant need to compare myself to others. It can be really easy to get discouraged or even jealous, and at my very worst, toxic, when you see other people who are building better BI tools or who are, kind of stealing your thunder, or who are, and this can be even worse, getting promoted ahead of you when you feel like, you deserve a promotion. I'm not saying that you deserve it more or less than that person does. If they're getting promoted, they're probably doing something right, but it can still be, it can still make you jealous that someone else got something that you think that you deserve. So I just want to let you know that from my own experience, it can be really frustrating and discouraging and kind of, put you mentally in a bad place when you feel that need to constantly compare your work and your career path and your success against other people. I know that doesn't really have a BI specific angle to it. Like I said, I'd imagine that this is something that anyone in almost any career struggles with, but I just wanted to point out that I work in business intelligence and I struggle with this too. You may feel the same way. Maybe you're struggling with that right now. If you have any thoughts on that, if you're someone watching this video and you're like, man, I hear you. I compare myself against others all the time and it doesn't put me in a good headspace. Sound off in the comments. I would love for other people to chime in on this because I doubt that it's just me. And finally, it's really easy to feel or underappreciated. And I feel like this sort of culminates from all of the other points that I listed. Business intelligence for me has been a bunch of highs and lows. I ride the peaks and I ride the valleys. I have days where I'm up here. I have days when I'm down here. And that's because, like I said, business intelligence projects have a pretty high failure rate. So when you have successes or when someone genuinely appreciates a tool, or on those rare moments where you understand that your tool had an immediate and very real impact, that can just put you on cloud nine. But unfortunately, it's also easy to sort of get addicted to that praise or get addicted to that feeling of making a big difference, and then start to get really discouraged when you're not getting it. And oftentimes this isn't because of your work. It's not because of anything specific that you're doing. It's just because, when you're in the middle of a development process, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so you may go through lulls where you're not extremely happy with how projects are going. You may go through lulls where you accomplished something huge that is sort of out of the spotlight. Maybe you fixed a SQL query, or maybe you completely changed the way that you were doing something in Power BI, and you turned a report that took 2 minutes to load into a report that takes 20 seconds to load. Most of the time, the best that you're going to get from that is a big old thumbs up. And that's it. And because of that, because of the very technical nature of our work, you may go through periods where you feel like you're just working your ass off and doing incredible things, but it's behind the scenes where people can't see it. And so you feel unappreciated, or at least underappreciated, and discouraged because you feel like you're moving mountains, but people just don't see it. I've used a visual in the past, and maybe I'll try to find it before posting this video, of an iceberg, sort of as a point of comparison for what it's like working in business intelligence. Everybody sees the latest and greatest Power BI tool that you've built. They see the visuals and the charts, and they click on the buttons and the bookmarks, and they're just like, wow, this is really cool. But they don't know anything about the back end that you built. They don't know what, all the things that you had to do in the Power Query editor. They don't know all of the SQL queries and your PySpark notebooks that it took to sort of marry everything together. They don't know that your Power BI report that looks very simple and clean and has all the insights they want, they don't know that sits on a Stephen King novel size of notebook code that you spent months scrutinizing and checking. And because of that, it's really easy to kind of wonder, man, I'm working so hard. Why am I doing all of this? When you only get, a slap on the back when you actually publish a new BI tool. So just letting you know that if you're someone who is addicted to praise, working in business intelligence can be very, very frustrating. I just wanted to be very upfront about that. But fortunately, there's plenty of rewards and praise along the way too. And I definitely know that if not for the kind words and the encouragement from my leaders and from my stakeholders who actually use my tools 99% of the time, I don't know if I could have made it work in this career. So just knowing that, business intelligence is a very social career, and you tend to start to rely on the people around you and the people that you're trying to help for encouragement is really kind of how you get around this particular frustration. So there you go. There are 10 of the most frustrating things that I have experienced working in business intelligence. Again, if you're someone watching this video and you have frustrations that you want to share with anybody else who's watching this, feel free to sound off in the comments. In the meantime, I just want to wish you an happy International Women's Day one more time. And thank you for checking out Sweatpants BI. Once again, as always, if you like this content, feel free to give me a like or subscribe. However YouTube works, I don't really know, but I do know that subscribers are good. And so I always ask for the subscribers for anyone that feels like subscribing. If you don't, no big deal. Hope you enjoyed this video though, and I hope you'll come back and check out future posts on Sweatpants BI. Thank you and have a wonderful day.